You are significant. You have seeds of greatness inside of you. You are not on accident. You are on purpose. You are here for a very divine, special purpose. And we are going to talk in this podcast about evidence that you are significant. Welcome to You Are Significant. I'm here today with Glenda Kroll, and I am so thankful for this time together. It's the holidays. I'm thankful that you are here and that you are taking time to listen, whether you're driving or you're cooking or you're trying to fold laundry while the kids crawl all over each other. Whatever is going on in your world, I don't take you for granted that you're here to listen. And we prayed together before we hit record that this episode will be a blessing to you. And Glenda has a very great life story, and God has revealed to her many times her significance. We were able to talk in detail for over an hour, and I just absolutely fell in love with her story and her. So thank you so much, Glenda, for being on today.
I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here and connect up, hopefully, with somebody that we can empower and help them through their struggles as well, because that's, after all, what it's all about, right? How can we inspire somebody else and help them? Because we go through things for a reason. And that's how I look at things. So thank you very much for inviting me today.
Absolutely. So tell us just a little bit about your background and what you have been led to share and empower women in.
Wow, my life is full of have been full of obstacles, and I feel like I've lived in the journeys of so much through my life. Climbing up those mountains and hitting those valleys, and times losing faith, and other times being so grateful that I've had that leadership, because somebody was always there that has led me. And because of all of that, I'm here today, and I have gone through so much, and I have been able to get through the journeys that I've have. And there's just, what I did realize is, right now I'm feeling like I'm a little bit of a crossroads, because in my life, I've been granted a lot. I think the journey of the knockdowns has now led me to the point where I have a lot to empower other people with. And so it's, figuring out, where do I lead it to, because there is so much. And I know that we always have to hit one thing and then go, but each time it's like something else shows up.
Mhm.
So let me start from the very, very beginning. And
Yes, please do.
it tells a lot about who I am as a person.
Hmm.
I was born into a family, a working family in Toronto, Canada, and we have four kids in the family. I'm the youngest of four. My parents had a retail business which they ran. So, you were working primarily, in those days. Stores will never open on Sundays, but because it was my dad's and my mom's business, they worked a lot of hours. The other thing about my life and my family, which was very special, is that I have two brothers with special needs. And that created a very different world than the average family, because, you know, let me explain something. Being the youngest of four children, is a lot to begin with. But when you have two siblings with special needs, it's very different. In those days, there wasn't such thing as you had help in the house, and you just sort of ran your life as your mom did everything in the house. And of course, she helped my dad run the business, but we didn't have anybody else in the house helping us. We were just an average family in Toronto. And My eldest brother, like it went boy, girl. So I'm the last one, was the first one. And, at the very beginning, my parents didn't see, and there were no type of tests in those years. We're going back. My brother is now, thank God, 72 years old, and he's lived longer than majority of people with this type of special need that he has. What my brothers have is a genetic disorder called Fragile X. And we didn't find that out until the 80s. My brother was born in the early 50s, and he didn't find out well into the 80s when I was looking to get married, and I needed answers, like wondering why my brothers were the way they were. Was this something that was going to affect me and my possibility of children down the road? But what happens with a child who has siblings that are special needs? The child that is what we call, just for lack of word, is like, we'll put it in quotations, normal.
Mm-hmm.
For me, we're called the glass child or the lost child. And that's because the child who is somewhat, or what the, for lack of other word, is normal, we don't have the needs that the special child has. So what
Mm-hmm.
ends up happening is the parents, they call us the glass child because we sort of we get looked through. We're not really, we're sort of put to the side. We're not the top. We're not the one who has the needs and all the rest. So the parents, like I say, I was loved, and I know, I was really daddy's little girl, and in some cases daddy's little boy. I played both roles because both of my brothers were affected with Fragile X, and didn't have the same thing, and I was a little tomboy, and I was a little instigator, so I got into everything. But so, and when I look back, the reason I really got into a lot of things is because that's how I got attention. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get the attention from being, maybe a pretty little girl or anything like that. I got into things. I caused problems. I did all of those things because that's how I had to get the attention. And, I never really understood a lot about myself until many, many years later when I was an adult, because it was a long road. And, through the time of living, I look at it as though my life was led by looking through the eyes of special needs people, because when you have that, like, I was a little girl, and like I said, my mother used to take me everywhere that she took my brothers because she didn't have a babysitter. So I just got dragged along to all different, she was very involved in a lot of organizations at that point in time. And, because I was a little instigator, my mother would put me on a chair in a corner somewhere where she was having, things with my brothers, activities, or maybe there was types of shows or whatever. And she put me in the corner, and she would say to me, "You sit there, Glenda, and don't you move." And it was like, because I was always threatened of, wait till your father got home, right? So that was the underlying thing. You do, or, or your dad's gonna make sure,
Dad's gonna get you. You're gonna get a spanking from dad.
yeah.
Mhm.
Even though my dad never hit me, I only remember one time, but he had this roaring voice, and that when he got mad, it just scared the jeepers out of me. So,
You
I,
never got to the spanking, you're already crying and
oh, I
and
was
repenting. "I'm so sorry."
I was scared, before. But what the problem was is, here's a little girl who's put into this corner to sit there, and here you have all these people with special needs. Some are coming in wheelchairs, some are coming with feeding tubes, some are grunting noises, all sorts of things, but nothing's really explained to me. So here's this little girl sitting in a chair, very scared of everything, listening, but feeling frightened by all it was basically that security of that chair. And that's really what I had. And that led to a lot of things through my life. But what it also gave me was, I, in some way, for some reason, felt as though I had to be the protector of my brothers.
Mm.
Because I also had this really the personality where I I showed up. And when we were kids and playing in those days, you could play outside and your parents didn't have to watch you and you were safe and the kids were all playing on the street and some people's yards and so on. And, if people would come in and start picking on my brothers, I would show up and I would just be running over and I would put my hands on my waist and I would, stand up and I would, scream at somebody and just, you leave them alone. And people, and it started as a young child. So some of
Mhm.
my journey is of that, till today, I am, the caretaker of both my brothers. My parents left. My father passed away at a young age of 60 years old. And
Mm.
life became very trying some because,
Mhm.
before that, I had two babies happening at that time. My dad was sick, dying of cancer. My
Mm.
eldest brother was had a very bad car accident. He was hit by a car, and they didn't know if he would live or not. This is
Mm.
all happening at the same time. My,
Wow.
my husband is having a workup for a kidney transplant, and here I am with two babies and running a business all at the same time, and everything clouds onto my plate. So my life has always been filled with nothing happens one thing at a time. When
Mhm.
things hit me, as this particular case, it's always things all at one time. And
Mhm.
some miracle, I'm able to get through it. At that time, my brother survived. Unfortunately, my dad, because it was such a hard time, close to a year that we were running in and out of hospitals. My kids were being, my neighbors were always wonderful to me because, I didn't have help and, they had help in their house. So my neighbors would take my kids, they would all be playing together with all the other kids. We had a really great neighborhood and they would take so I could be running to the hospital. I could help my dad. At the time my brother's pulling out of all this, now my dad is even sicker and landing in the hospital. And
Mm.
same time now, even my husband's getting sicker and we're getting closer to his kidney transplant. And then my dad passes away, and then a month to the day
Mhm.
that my dad passes away, my husband has a heart attack.
Oh
and
my goodness.
and I'm dealing with like the issues, but at the same time, my mother's not coping well with my brothers and doing all this. So I'm running and helping, caring for them and taking on the load of my brothers and helping
Mhm.
finding programs and things because they didn't have things. I made sure that things were set up for my brother once my father went, because more started coming onto my plate of running my business and caring for my kids and being there for them. And it was, so where am I going with all this? I'm going to explain that when you are put under the test of life, somehow, you need to step back and we all need to get quiet, because I live in tornadoes. My life has always been in tornadoes. Like now I deal with, I've got my kids happening. My
I
daughter,
thought I was the only one that had tornadoes.
no, 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 you don't have it. You don't have to mark on this all. This is part of me
I
too.
don't have the corner on that market.
No, no, I invented it. I think I'm older than you, so
Okay, Glenda, you invented it first.
yeah, God saw me and he said, you know what? We're
You're
gonna
gonna
do this
pave the way.
because I think she can do it. I think she can
Yeah,
handle
yeah.
it. And you know what? Here's the thing. I had no choice.
I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me.
There's
Mhm.
somebody who's guided me.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship. I got married and I had my children. And at a point, I saw that this was not the marriage that I thought I should have been in.
Mm.
The family was very narcissistic. I'm very humble, and most importantly, because I believe I am the person I am because of my siblings. I'm very kind. I'm very empathetic. I am very caring and giving, and they were nothing like that. And the more I saw as my children were starting to come, I saw an ugliness that I hated. And
Mm-hmm.
what they were trying to instill in my kids, by being better than others, and that they put other people down while they put themselves up. I couldn't deal with it. And
It was so foreign to you.
it was ugly to me.
Mhm.
My mother-in-law would sit at, I remember one dinner we had, and my son, he had his little friend with for dinner that night. And I guess the kids must have been about 5 or 6, and probably around five-ish. And my mother-in-law kept on saying to his friend, "Do you know how lucky you are to have, my son's name is David. Do you know how lucky you are to have David as a friend?" And I heard that, and I went and I looked at the other little boy and I said, "Do you know how lucky David is, Jeremy, to have you as a friend?" Because it was like, I don't do that.
Mhm.
And when I started seeing these things, it's like, I need to get out of this relationship. This is not how I'm meant to be. Uh,
Yeah.
this is not the person who I am, and this is not how I want to raise my children.
Mhm.
They need to learn about humbleness, about great gratitude, and fulfilling other people, not just themselves.
Yeah. When you were talking earlier about being the little girl standing up for your brothers, like, I'm envisioning, like, on the playground or in the neighborhood, y'all are all outside playing. I did that too as a kid. That was preparation for you in this moment. You are going to have to be strong and find your voice and stand up for yourself in what a relationship where you're supposed to be protected and provided for, you have to become the protector of yourself. And God was totally preparing you through all that you had to do for your brothers. As the youngest, as the little sister in the family, which is really different, a different role for the youngest. Um, he knew what was coming. He was
I
preparing you.
was I was the strongest in the
Mhm,
family,
mhm.
and I guess because of my attitude in life, um, he, I was given that so that I could take on what I had to take on.
And you helped, was it one or both brothers find jobs? You helped them have a place to work?
So one of my brothers is a higher level, higher
Mhm,
functioning. So he was the person who could work. And
mhm,
then my other brother, I found programs so he could go and he could be fulfilled and he could learn. Like the whole idea is I spent a lot of my time teaching my brothers skills and things so they would be, even everyday skills. And now I help families who have special needs children as well. And I say, at a young age, your children need to know about, at their level. Everybody has a level and an ability, no matter
mhm,
what they have. Everybody's able to do something. And the more we
mhm,
teach our children, whether our children are special in that way or just beautifully special in any way. So every child is special, but
mhm,
every child also needs to learn to do the responsibilities in a household because
mhm,
that creates. So when a child learns how to wash a dish or vacuum a floor or put away the groceries or help mommy do something, those are things that we prepare for the future, and those are the things that you also gain your pride and your worth and your abilities to do things. So when we don't allow our children to do things, and that's what my mother did for all the years. Oh no, let the boys be. Don't no, leave them alone. It was my sister and I were always, it was Sundays were the day to clean the house. We had to do the cleanings. No, leave the boys alone. It was time to make dinner. Every day was coming home from school. I had to start making dinner because I was the first one home. Well, how about the boys? No, leave the boys alone. But all of that time, well, they could have done things their level and become stronger and become more confident and have more confidence and self-worth, they weren't getting those things.
Mhm.
And when my mother finally passed away, this is going back about 15 years after my dad had passed away, and everything came tumbling onto my plate, even before that, because my mother had dementia. So I had to have dealing with my mother and my brothers and my kids and my business and me. Yeah, I told you I live in. I had to start teaching them things to do. Like I taught my brothers how to do laundry.
Mhm.
They could learn it. All you have to do with laundry is press a button. You know,
Mhm.
throw in some detergent. It's really not a big science. We're not in the world where we were scrubbing down in, in the wash bins. Weren't in those days. We came way past that. Making some breakfast is quite easy.
Mhm.
You don't have to be cooking even for breakfast of, just making some toast and putting even on some peanut butter.
Mhm.
These skills that are simple. But what ended up happening is my brothers didn't have a lot of these skills. And then I had to start teaching them because, my younger brother who had a much higher level, what he lacked was confidence, self-esteem, self-worth. So when I had to start taking him or trying looking for jobs, well, it was very difficult because he didn't know what to do and how to do it. And
Mhm.
all those things led to whole turmoils of not being able to get jobs and things. Like I ended up finding ways of doing that by finding him jobs and shadowing him and teaching him during the time and doing all those type of things to build him. But life would have been so much easier had he done it from a child up.
Yeah, I think what you're saying about what you really ended up having to help him have was self-confidence and self-worth, and truly, that is what we're giving children when we give them chores or we include them in Saturday cleaning or Saturday's car wash or,
Whatever.
when our family chooses to get the things done, the basics that need to be taken care of, like you said, laundry. I all of my children learned to do their own laundry about 10 years old. Each one, I had 3 daughters and then I had a son, and sometimes families will say, "Oh, the daughters should do all that." But I still taught my son how to do his own laundry. And now if he's in baseball season, I'll help him. We help each other also in our family,
Absolutely.
you
My
know?
to do it as well. But
Yeah. We
the
try
even
not to be overly rigid, but we also don't wanna take away the opportunities and the blessings that come from the work.
it's the satisfaction. It's the satisfaction as well when you're all finished that you can sit down. Maybe you sit down to a nice dinner together. Maybe you sit down or you go out together or do things. It's that satisfaction. It's the fact that when you look at something, you know you did it. It feels good.
It feels good. Yeah,
It just feels
and that's something to be thankful for, in
always.
this season of Thanksgiving. Gratitude is a foundation for my life all year long, and I was encouraging my listeners to just commit to writing down one unique thing of the day that you're thankful for in the new year. Get your journal. You don't have to wait till January 25. Get your journal. F- Just go to Dollar Tree and get you a cute journal and start writing down one thing each day in that journal that you're grateful for. And the satisfaction creates gratitude when we do work and when we are included in the family, when we're included in the family goals and the family needs.
It creates a different bond with the family as well.
Mhm.
It brings people together instead of what ends up happening that you develops a resentment. So if
Mhm.
one person is doing it and the other person isn't, it's a start of little bits of resentment. It begins to chip away. And
Mhm.
that is not building a happy family. You know,
Mhm.
there's times, sure, my kids were taught to do everything in the house. And at one point when I was living in a condo with at that time after another relationship that I missed, another huge story that I go back to in a few minutes. But at the time, I made an agreement with my son that if he lived with me, and during that time, we wouldn't be he wouldn't have to worry about paying rent and doing things, and I would support him and help him because he was going through law school. He was just being
Mm.
start off, and I knew what like, first of all, he had gone through an undergrad program and done very well and had a full scholarship, and now he decided that he was going to go on and do a law degree. And I said, you know what, if you want to, you live with me. I don't want you working. I want you focusing on what you need to get done, and that's to get a proper degree, because the higher you are in the level, the better your chances of getting out and getting a position. And we did that, and he still did his own laundry, he still made his own meals. But when it came exam time, he would say, oh my gosh, mom, like, I'm so loaded with work. And I would say, just give me your clothes, I'll wash it all out, it's no big deal. That's what we do. We help.
Right.
Now I just had my kids over the other night for dinner, and we're sitting around, the three of us, my daughter and my son and I, and we're sitting around here, and my kids, we talk and what we can do to help each other. That's what our
Beautiful.
relationship is.
Mhm.
We listen to each other's lives, of what's going on, where can we be of help, what can we do.
What a great question to ask while families are together, like, "What can I do to make your life a little better? How can I support you?"
Yes.
Mhm.
And you know what? And it's the same thing. Like, I always say to my kids, like, my son will say, "Oh, mom, I don't. I'm an adult now." I said, "You're still my little boy, no matter what age, And as long as I'm alive,
Absolutely.
as long as God gives me years, I'm here to be with you and to help you through your journey, as well as, when 2 years ago I had a very bad accident and I couldn't walk. My son
Mhm.
was the first one running here to say, Mom, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? My
Aw.
daughter was running with groceries, making dinner. You know,
Mhm.
it shows you,
So
but
precious.
it didn't start from there.
Mhm.
It's been a journey through it, making sure that there's communication, there's not misunderstanding. And if there is misunderstanding, you talk about it. You don't fight, you don't hold grudges. We all have make mistakes in life.
Yeah.
Really, and nothing is worth holding a grudge over. Nobody needs.
I agree. And I think that that's something that, we raise our children. You were talking about, your relationship with that husband where you found yourself in the family, and it was such a different family than what you had been raised in, like, totally opposite.
They weren't connected.
Mhm.
There were challenges, and it was all because also of money. If one didn't get, then the other one, and they all had plenty. Which
Mhm.
I couldn't understand. My parents, I didn't come from that, you know,
Mhm.
and they had so much, but they would hurt each other, like, not physically, but mentally and supportively. They would hurt each other because it was all about grabbing the money. And it was like,
Mhm.
I would sit
There
there and
has to be forgiveness too in families, in any relationship that's going to overcome. All relationships are going to have challenges, even, unintentionally, just because we're human beings and we
absolutely.
misunderstand each other, or we have a different perspective, or we have a different preference. Um, and so being willing to forgive each other and assume the best rather than assuming the worst about each other, I think is also key.
So through that relationship, when I left, I
Mhm,
wanted it to be civil for my children, so
mhm,
things would be good, and it didn't turn out at all. And what ended up happening, before I knew it, bank accounts were emptied and I had no money. I was a stay-at-home working mom, and I hadn't been working for 8 years. So at that point, had lost a lot of my confidence. I didn't know what to do with my life. My kids were still small, And I had, and I left, and it was supposed to be on good terms. And before I knew it, there, because I had left, I was being punished, and
Mm,
I left no money in the bank. I got no child support, no spousal support, and he was, his objective, and he put it in writing, and I had lots of documentation, but it was to mentally destroy me and financially destroy me. And I went through a very hard time. It took me a long time. I ended up in $200,000 worth of debt from legal fees. And
mm,
I almost myself had very dark thoughts, but kept me going as I still had to look after my children and
mhm,
finding ways. And then finally, one day, I decided I had nothing left to lose. My kids were not doing well. I was really severely hurting. I was emotionally was just falling apart. And I decided that day that I didn't want a lawyer anymore because nobody was listening to my words. My children were being, my children were falling apart at that point, which was, as a mom, was destroying me.
mhm,
I walked into court that day and I told them that I'm representing myself. And that is when, not not having the confidence in myself, it's like, you get to a point in life that your back is up against the wall, and you feel that you, no matter what, whether you know it or not, you need to do something. And that day is the first day that changed my life. And I went
mm,
to court, and you know what? I went and I spoken to another lawyer, which just as conversation. I didn't want to hire her. I was game to go and look to represent myself. Like I said, I kept feeling that nobody was hearing me. I couldn't talk because your lawyers there. You have to have your lawyer speaking for you, and it was like I'm not getting anywhere, and it's going around like a whirlwind. And I stood up, and I really believe, God had put this person in front of me. It was a woman judge. She was the head of the entire family um, courts in Ontario, where Canada is under one of the provinces, is Ontario, where I live. And she was the head of it all. And
mhm.
she was placed upon me. And I
Wow.
said to her, so all of the blue, now every single time I had different judges, everybody just looking at all of the work that I had, everything that was going on, and nothing got accomplished. And I said to her, I need help. My children need help. Nobody is listening to me. I can't afford to eat. I can't even afford food. I am struggling trying to find just food to feed my kids. I'm borrowing clothes. Because I can't even, my kids are growing. I can't afford to buy clothes because I have to buy food. And
Right.
I can't get my children. I can't get money for my children. My ex-husband is very wealthy family, and I'm not getting child support for my children. It's not for me. I need to feed my children. And I haven't been working. I'm looking for work, but I don't have help because I don't have money. It was a total circle.
Yeah, you couldn't afford a babysitter, and
Oh,
you didn't have anyone to keep the children and keep them safe while you worked, so
it
how are
was
you supposed to get a job? It's a vicious cycle.
and it was constantly asking for help, right? Like it
Mhm.
gets to a point where how much can you keep asking people to do for you?
Right. Mhm.
And she changed everything. She went through, she saw the amount of times I was pulled into court. She saw no decisions were being made. She was dumbfounded to see that I wasn't getting any financial aid, that I wasn't into the system properly. She changed everything. And then I asked her if from this point on, if she would be the judge to look over everything, because he takes me into court if I breathe wrong. Like, no matter
Right.
what I was doing, it didn't matter. And she said, absolutely, from this day forward, she let him know that from this day forward, she will, everything that comes into court, it will appear in front of her. And my life changed. That was the start.
Wow.
So,
That was a God thing, I believe.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So you wondering who is behind here? Who is in front of me? Of all judges of all times, when my I felt at that point in time, you know what? If this is the last thing I have, something's either going to happen, or you know what? I'm going to have to just give my kids up because I can't keep going. I can't afford my kids.
Don't give up. Don't give up because you don't know when that break is right in front of you. It's coming. And also don't be afraid to do what maybe everybody else thinks is crazy. What, you're going to go in court with no lawyer? But that's exactly what you needed to do because your lawyers weren't serving you and the real goal, and you were able to express and you got in front of someone who would listen, you were able to express what you needed better than they were.
And so that's the thing, have faith. It's when we lose that faith, and sometimes we're tried so much. My whole life I've been tried. But here's the thing I always say now, like I'm going through another storm at this particular time, but I want to go through one other story before we go, because I just want to show that there is somebody up there. There's somebody that is guiding us, that is leading us. And there's so many times you feel like giving up, because I have felt like giving up. I have had so many storms that live on me, and it's somehow, some way, I always make it through.
Yeah.
So that's
And
what.
and better than you were before
So
for
I have
the
to
storm.
say, when I see things like, like when things are going, like again, the winds, the storms are here. I'm in another storm yet again. Somehow I always turn around now and say, I don't know how, I don't know when, but please God, all my angels above me, please guide me, protect me, and help me through the storm like you always do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I always say that, and it always comes true.
Wow.
It works. It,
It
it's
works.
it's having that faith, because, but here's the other factor. I am a very giving, loving person.
Mhm.
It's about being a good person too. I
Mhm.
won't hurt another person. I will always help another person. When
Mhm.
you're good, you're rewarded. Yes,
Mhm.
you're going to have challenges too. Don't even think that.
Right.
But somebody is going to reward you. It's
Mhm.
just funny. The other day, I went to have an x ray done on my feet. I'm having some problems with my feet. And I was coming down from the x-ray department, going to go out, and I was about to pay for my parking, and this gentleman was on the phone in the corner with his in a wheelchair. And I hear him on the phone saying to somebody on the phone, "Oh, I can't get upstairs. I can you come downstairs and push me upstairs, because I can't push my wheelchair. I can't do it." And I heard that, and I turned around and I said, "Do you need somebody to push you upstairs? Like, obviously, I'm in a medical building. Do you need help?" And he looked at me and he says to this woman, "Oh, well, you don't have to worry about coming. Somebody just miraculously offered." And, and I
Wow.
looked around and I said, he said, "Wow, you're an angel." I said, "No, I'm just here. You need a little bit of help, and I'm here and able to help you."
You were his angel in that moment. Mhm.
And, I had,
And we can be somebody's angel.
right?
If we're looking for opportunities around us in the grocery store, while we're shopping in this holiday season, even like we've already said in our family, it sometimes our blinders get on because we're trying to survive our own storm. It's not that we're a bad person, but we're just trying to not be sucked totally down by our own storm. But if we can get our head just above, where we can see, like, okay, who else needs help? Sometimes that is our own salvation.
But here's the thing, and I want to tell people how important, when you give, you get.
Mhm.
But what do you get? Well, what did it make me do? I pushed him up to the office that he had to go to for his doctors. I put him in there. He was so grateful. I felt so good. That's my gift,
That's your
because I
gift.
because I helped somebody. For what? He says, I can't believe that you took the time out. I said, it took me 2 minutes. It,
Mhm.
I helped you, and that made my day. And I thank you. It was a blessing to see you and to help you. And I'm glad that it made your day just a little bit easier.
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's all it takes. It takes, and I say this all the time because I'm such a believer in it. A smile can change somebody's day. A nice word, like there's nothing nicer than you walking by somebody and you see something and you say, oh, what a pretty coat.
Yes.
He had,
Give that compliment.
right? Oh, don't you look good today? Do you know what you do to somebody? And I'm not saying this to blow smoke up of somebody's
No,
rear.
no, sincerely.
I mean it. But
Mhm.
it takes nothing to just have, and you feel good because you see somebody smiled from it.
Yes.
It's
Mm.
wonders. And
It's
so
wonders.
why do things work out for me? Because I believe I put good out there, so good should come back to me.
Mhm.
I will never hurt another person. I
Mhm.
know in my life it's about giving, it's about loving, it's about caring.
Mhm.
No matter
One
what.
of the things I think about, that's along that same line, Glenda, is sending a card. Like, a lot of people will send a Christmas card. It's almost become a thing of the past because we send digital cards or we post our family picture on Facebook instead of printing 100 of them and mailing them in cards, but I really I became convicted recently. You know what, Darlene? You need to start sending cards, and God brought to mind, like, 4 people. I wrote their names down, and I also want to encourage you because it's a lot of work and a lot of focus to get a card sent. You've got to go get the card. You've got to write the card, remember who you got it for, get a stamp, write the card, put the stamp on, get it in the mailbox. When somebody receives a card from you, they feel how much you thought of them. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to do a card. So I just want to encourage our listeners today that send a card. Who could you send one card to after listening to this episode? Who comes to mind that they need some encouragement? And not because it's necessarily even the holidays. Maybe you're listening to this in April. Who needs a card today? You could just send a "I'm thinking of you" card, or "I hope that this card lifts your day," an encouragement card.
And I'll say it on another note. I did this the other day, and what would it mean that you take 5 minutes out of your day? That's all you need, and phone somebody who you haven't spoken to in a while.
Mm,
Pick up the phone and say, I was thinking about you, and I just
mhm.
wanted to see how you're doing.
Yes.
Like I had a woman that I hadn't spoken to in a while. She's been on my mind. And usually I'm really better at it, but it's been a little hectic in life lately. And I was driving somewhere and she came to mind and I figured, well, this is perfect time. I'm in the car and I went on my phone and I found her number and I phoned her and she was so happy to hear me. She was laughing and so I I I again, it does wonders to your own heart. But
Yeah.
just so many little simple things that we can do to brighten somebody's days. So many elderly people are by themselves on the holidays. So many elderly people are by themselves every day. To pick up
True.
the phone, to knock at a door saying, I'm going to the store. Can I help you? Can I, pick up something for you? Just
Yeah.
something like that.
My neighbor just turned 70, and it was her birthday yesterday, and I did message her, and I said, "What did you get to do? Oh my goodness, it's your birthday. What did you get to do to have fun?" And she messaged me back, "I'm feeling under the weather. That's what happens when you're 70." So I plan today. I know she loves puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles,
Nice.
and I've already written her a birthday card, and I'm going to go get a jigsaw puzzle and just take it, put it on her porch step. Because she when you don't feel good, you don't always want to have to carry on a conversation, have company, but I can put that on her porch step, and, it doesn't cost a lot, once again, for a jigsaw puzzle, and she is good at them. She does a bunch of them. So
So good for your brain. So good.
just it's so good for your brain, and, it's just those little things that, if I envision that tornado and getting just a little bit above it and
Yeah.
peeking out and seeing, like, okay, what's everybody else got going on today, that who can I be a little bit of sunshine in
So
their day?
when you're a little bit above that tornado and you're
Mhm,
just up there and you can breathe above that tornado, when you bring
mhm.
that sunshine, that tornado drops down further even. That's
Great point.
that you
It weakens.
when
It
you
starts
feeling
losing strength,
strong
doesn't
and
it?
it's getting strong and you're feeling like you're just overpowered by all of this, and then you turn around and you do something like sweet for somebody else and like a phone call or drop in or anything, all of a sudden that feel good all of a sudden makes that tornado pushes it down. It
Wow.
changes everything. So remember, like such little things mean so much. And
Yes,
because of that, that's what brings more greatness into your own life.
so true. Glenda, thank you so much for being here today. I wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And I wish you many blessings and all the very best. And it was a pleasure having being here today and joining you.
I
I
look forward to having you back again.
thank you. I look forward to coming back. Take care and
Thank you for listening to You Are Significant. Please leave us a review. Please leave comments, give us a like, and share this out. We appreciate you here on You Are Significant, and I cannot wait till next time to spend time with you.